gosh. Hey, it's a podcast. That's amazing. Welcome to the Crazy J Podcast Show, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is your man, aka Crazy Crockett, aka Andre's Podcast, folks. I am back. It is Super Bowl Sunday. We have to talk about a couple of things. First of all, the NFL is still trying to stop racism by putting it on the end zones of each team that end racism. I didn't realize that racism is still in existence. I think that when you promote racism, it's basically telling people to go find somebody to punch in the face and say, hey, let's end racism. And then make up and have a beer with that person. That's what I think the NFL's propaganda is. I don't know why they keep doing that. I think it's kind of dumb. I think it's inappropriate. I think when you keep talking about racism, you keep bringing up the fact that some people and some cultures cannot get over racism, and they keep making it feel like it's between two races or two cultures. In reality, it's about format of education and how you can get out of poverty. And when you get out of poverty, you don't end up fighting over dumb things or things that don't matter, or starting fights over things that don't matter. I think when you talk about end racism, how about you end? You should say end poverty or end dropouts or end knowledge or start knowledge or something like that to promote people in poor communities to work hard to get out of poverty and to make a living and a life for themselves. I think that's the way to look at things. I think the NFL is a joke. I know that people are going to talk about the boycotting of the Super Bowl, and that's something that we need to talk about. There are people out there on TikTok and other platforms who might be boycotting the Super Bowl. And I think that it's unfortunate for Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs fan base from the 1980s and 70s and the 2000s and up to the point where Mahomes was drafted. I think it's disappointing for those fans that waited almost 40 or 50 years of another Super Bowl when they won the second, or the third and fourth. I mean, the fourth Super Bowl. So, and now they're on a pace to have a three-peat. But they're taken away from the fact that people are getting sick of watching referees make calls and go to the casinos. Supposedly, they're going to the casinos, placing their bets, and doing something that's illegal to prop bets while you're participating in the game. That's kind of like inside trading. If you're looking at the Wall Street Journal, the Wall Street aspect of it. But to be honest with you, I think it's bizarre that you got referees buying spots for point spreads and point cuts, and no one's talking about it. And everyone, and besides the NFLPL, they're like, "Oh, this is obnoxious. We wouldn't do that. That's just garbage. Just garbage. You're losing. You're disrespecting us. You're just disrespecting us. Come on, get real. I mean, look, I think the boycott could be a significant thing. Most of those people who watch the Super Bowl are going to watch for advertisements. I think if the guys and the girls who actually watch the games because their favorite team is not in it because we lost in the playoffs, and they're still going to watch it, but I think that they're going to be in a situation where they're going to be, if those people don't watch it and then their spouses see that they're not going to watch it, that's a lot of numbers. That's a lot of people that are not going to watch the Super Bowl. So let me know what you think about that, and I'll get back to that. And I hope that the NFL finds another way of ending racism besides making an obnoxious movement and making dumb people act stupid again. And I'm not even talking about the poor people who are in poverty. I'm talking about the people who are wealthy and think they need to join a group of racism or something like that to make them feel good about themselves when they have no clue what's going on. For example, I'll give myself an example. When When I see people on TikTok buying pizzas for the homeless, 19 boxes of homeless pizza for the homeless, that's stupid. What you should do is try to find a way to get them state IDs. State IDs, start there out. It's neat and cute if you do uh, help them with pizzas or give them food on the weekends because certain shelters in Grand Rapids doesn't feed the homeless. It's cute when churches come in town and from Jenison, Hudsonville, but come on. If you want to end poverty, you want to end homelessness, stop feeding them or feed them and then help them get state IDs. There. End racism that way. There you go, NFL. Second thing we got to talk about is the Luka and the Anthony Davis trade again. I think it's obnoxious. The NBA is losing its mind. I think they think that Americans are dumb. I think they think that they're stupid. Look, let's be honest. The NBA should be now named NEBA, National European Basketball Association. So you add an extra letter and then you include the European League into it. And now you don't need American basketball players anymore. Because you know why? Because we don't play basketball anymore. Because we have other things to try and make money off. Stock market, starting businesses. Starting business, not owning a franchise. So that's two different things. When you're a millionaire like Magic Johnson or Michael Jordan, you can buy things. You can buy businesses. You don't start a business, you buy a business. So that's a whole different aspect of business itself. So when I say a lot of the white basketball players who are probably really, really, really good that are not playing basketball, there's a reason for that because they don't need to. And unfortunately, they've gone away. I guess this is the weird thing about it. What happened to the white basketball players who are really good that wanted to play in the NBA to win a championship? That doesn't exist no more. Winning the championship doesn't really exist. It just won't ever exist again. And I think it's going to probably happen to the African American basketball player. They're not going to care about winning championships either because they know it's not important. And unfortunately, I mean, the reason why it's not important because if you allow players like LeBron James dictate what his team and what his organization and what his branding, like you got to look at LeBron James as a brand name, not as an athlete. So he's got to protect his brand name. By protecting your brand name, you have to make trades and you decide what trade goes in, what trade goes out, and play with Luka instead of AD. That's how you have to look at it. I mean, I'll be honest with you. That's how you have to look at things like that. You cannot look at it as a way of LeBron James winning a championship. You have to look at it the way, how does LeBron James maintain his status in the NBA by putting a brand on his name and on his team. Okay? So when people, the regular people, see that, they don't want to give to LeBron James the brand name. And you got to remember, Michael Jordan did not have a brand name until he actually really retired. Yes, they have the Air Jordans and he made millions of dollars and he bought the rights to Air Jordans or the percentage of that. And he has every right to do so. But that's not how he started. He started as the greatest competitor of all time. And I think he is, and Isaiah Thomas is second, or Isaiah Thomas is first, and Michael Jordan second. I think that's the greatest competitors of all time. I think when you look at Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, they're the greatest duo competitors of all time. Okay? And that's kind of what's going away from the NBA, is that you don't have people going to the same high school or going to the same high school district or going to college, and then when they meet up in the pros, you don't see them competing against each other And that's what drove the NBA, especially in the 80s and the 90s. That's what drove it to success, to a massive success. It was not it was not the brand name Michael Jordan, it's not the brand name Kobe Bryant, it was not the brand name of LeBron James that made the NBA. It was the natural competitive nature of the league that made the NBA for what it is 10 years ago. Okay? So understand that with this Luka thing, the NBA is protecting its brand. So Luka is going to be a representative of the European League, NBA, or the NEBA, and then the NBA is hoping that white people in America are going like, oh, we have a new white great player of all time, and he's comparable to Duke Nowitzki and Larry Bird, but it doesn't work that way. It's not going to work that way because no one cares about Luka, and no one cares about Nikola Jovic. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly, but that's because the difference between Dirk Nowitzki and Luka and Nikola Jovic is that Dirk has a personality of a person that wants everyone to like him. He wants to be everyone's friend. Okay? And and it's just not on his team. Everywhere he goes, he seems to have that type of energy where you want to say hi to him even if you're not a Dallas Maverick fan in the 2010 era. That's what makes Dirk different than Luka. Okay? And I think that if you look at Dirk's shot, his fadeaway shot, it just looks cooler. It just does. I'm just gonna say it. He just looks like a white version of Michael Jordan a little bit, basically. Okay, so but Luka and Jovic are not going to be the guys. They're just not going to be the guys that are going to help the NBA in America succeed. If the NBA wants to make the NBA better in America, they have to call fouls in the lane. They have to address the physicality of the game. That they don't want easy 2-point layups or dunks off transition basketball. You should be allowed to knock the ball out of someone's hand and maybe block the guy physically, so he has to hit free throws. That's how you're going to get the game back to the where Americans going to want to watch it. You have to create a competitive nature among two players in this era. And it doesn't have to be two black guys against each other. It doesn't have to be two white guys have to be against each other. It's got to be against, let's say the Chicago Bulls and Detroit Pistons or Milwaukee Bucks against the Pacers. There has to be a natural course of action. So when you see a guy that's at University of Indiana and he goes to San Antonio, his competitive guy in college should go to the New York Knicks or somewhere in that Eastern Division. And when they go and meet in the NBA Finals, that's when you create a real competitive edge. That's how you do it. And that's just not the way it's done anymore. So that's my key on how to make the NBA better. I just don't think that Luka is the guy. And I think that Luka is a pawn piece in America, and he's going to probably regret it because people are not going to pay attention to him. And I'm sure he's a nice guy, and I don't know where you're from, but I'm sure you're a nice guy. I'm sure you're just as nice as Jovic and Dirk. But people are not going to want to see you. They're just not. It's unfortunate that's how it's done. But there you go, folks. Peace, love. Follow me on Patreon, YouTube, Spotify. Find me on Apple Podcasts. Wherever you download your podcasts, I'm there. Peace, love, and I'm out.